Today my employer held a catered leadership conference for managers only, aiming to improve employee morale. The employees were left out, hungry and had to work twice as hard to make up for absent managers. Reddit: what idiotic things has your job done for the benefit of the employees? My old company was having a morale problem. Me and my co-workers had been pulling serious overtime trying to get all the work done. For 2 weeks straight we had essentially come in at 7:30 am and left at 6:30 pm without taking lunch. Finally, after we had openly started talking about how we were that we were doing these hours and we were still getting bitched at for making tiny errors here and there, they decided to reward our department with lunch. When our lunch hour came, the four of us walked in to find all the food had been eaten by the managers, and they had left us 2 egg rolls and handful of fried rice. Morale had never been higher. You can eat when morale improves. Creating on the second policy: you have to be at your desk exactly the second your workday begins. This has created an atmosphere where they find it really hard to get anyone to do anything extra. On the second the workday ends, everyone leaves. Before, we didn't care about a minute or two here and there. It's worse when you are expected to be at your desk station counter before your shift starts in order to crank up the crappy provided systems, and then are expected to stay after your shift to close everything down, and paid both times, of course. I used to work in catering as a chef, and we once catered a company-wide going away party for the head of a large local company that makes exercise equipment. The reason that the company head was leaving was to go on a Mormon mission, but that's neither here nor there. The executives ate on a dais at the head of a large conference room, elevated a few feet above the ground. They ate smoked beef tenderloin with a Calvados demi-glace, haricot vert, roast new potatoes, Caesar salad, and all manner of breads and rolls, with handmade chocolate mousse in a champagne glass for dessert. The employees, on the other hand, were left to mill about on the conference room floor and enjoy their fully catered meal of donuts. Yep, they got to eat crappy store-bought donuts and watch their bosses and managers enjoy a multi-course fully catered meal in full view of the masses of peons. That was close to 10 years ago and it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like a scene from Dickens. My company has an annual trip for people voted as MVP from each office location plus executives and salespeople who make quota. The trips are usually quite fancy, all expenses paid affairs with tons of swag. Cut to the height of the Great Recession. We have our quarterly town hall meeting. The CEO stands there in front of a screen showcasing photos from this trip. I'm talking about pictures of people receiving fancy watches and going on helicopter rides. While these photos are showing, he gives a speech about tightening our belts, no raises that year and all salaried employees having to take 2 weeks off without pay, with pictures of him and all the other execs in the background drinking champagne on a helicopter behind him. People were pee to say the least. Your CEO sounds like the movie quality bad guy. In my place of work, we have gotten extremely busy in the last few months. They expanded their stores into Florida. Instead of giving the employees much needed deserved raises, we got oranges. Yes, oranges. They thought they were clever being in Florida and all. Just made me angry. Our company decided to give out a weekly prize to randomly selected employees as a way to boost morale. Some of these prizes were things like iPads and TVs, so at first, this seemed cool. Then we started realizing that the people who won the big prizes were all VPs and above. Lower level employees won things like a tote bag full of promotional materials, the winner's name, title, and prizes emailed to everyone in the comp. Now, whenever a regular person wins, he or she gets a flood of congratulatory emails from bemused co-workers. Congrats on winning that plastic cup. You must be so proud. Oh man, please tell me that they all hit reply all to do that. A motivational speech was being given to some of our assembly guys, and 2 of their managers were trying to get them to see the importance of working hard as a team. Here is what they had to say. Think about slave ships. If everyone didn't keep rowing through the storm, the boat would capsize and they'd all drown. In order to improve morale, my previous employer set up a suggestion box. When people anonymously submitted their gripes, management got P and said we had to put our names on our suggestions. What's the point of a suggestion box if it's not anonymous? If I'm going to put my name on it, I will just email you directly. You should have written that up as a suggestion and signed it with "Go frick yourself." Casual passes. This is the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. You can be awarded or purchase a casual pass that lets you wear casual clothing anytime you like, not just Friday, if your manager approves. Oh, and if there's not a customer visit. It just strikes me as so childish. You can wear comfortable clothes today. Don't you feel rewarded? No, I feel manipulated and patronized. Maybe I'm just bitter. I worked in a call center for a large international insurance company. No customer visits. Had to dress in full business attire all the time. To answer the phone, they had jeans passes that you could purchase with actual money, but you still had to wear dress shoes shirt. I don't suppose it was for the benefits of the employees, but I worked at a stationery store that sold DVDs, CDs and the like. W.H. Smith. They had a management meeting about security and shoplifting. So, already short-staffed, the supervisors, managers and security guards spent 2 hours upstairs, nattering. Worst day for shoplifting the store had ever had. Hilarious. Not really related to having a job, but I was knocked back from an internship at a world-leading insurance company last year because when you showed up you looked a bit like an IT guy. Considering I was applying for an IT internship and my technical background is IT, I have no idea what this human resources goon was expecting. HR is terrible. When I was hiring here, my interviewer basically gave me tips to lie to HR to make it easier for myself. This is my bonehead move. I was new to managing in the taxi world and thought, hey, let's throw a BBQ and get to know everyone. Turns out a lot of Muslims are taxi drivers, and that Ramadan thing is kind of a big deal. Now I throw a what I call a halab a few days before Ramadan starts. It's pretty nice. Hot dogs and sausages for everyone. When I worked at McDonald's, there was a month where they put a digital scale by the shake machine. We had to zero out the weight of a cone each time and make sure that every customer was getting exactly 5 ounces of ice cream. A cone with too much got thrown out. It's hard to appreciate the difficulty of making a cone, let alone a perfect one, and this just ended up being a massive waste of time and money. My employer recently started charging for our employee appreciation luncheon. $25 for some crappy baked chicken. Glad to know how much we are appreciated. I work in the back room of a large retail store. We're understaffed with hours cut and the only section of the store to run independently after 330. We have one supervisor, yet we have the highest rank in the nation in terms of speed and accuracy. We still get called lazy by the upper ups. You'll be considered lazy until you work for free, and then they would just try to push you into paying them for allowing you to build experience. Our grocery pharmacy outlet was involved in a company-wide push to boost profits over the holiday season. If we came out on top with the greatest percentage increase over all other outlets, then we would receive a handsome Christmas bonus. We came out on top, but the only ones to reap the rewards were upper management. Among the 30+ employees, we would have stood to make nearly $1,000 apiece for our hard work during the holidays. Instead, management split it among the top 3, giving them a little under $10,000 each. Those who complained were fired and given crap excuses why. I don't work for that crap company anymore, nor do I ever have to see the greedy management that kept me and my family from my rightful Christmas bonus. Frick 'em. I can't relate to people who do things like this. It's perplexing and I can't understand such behavior. They must have the moral compass of Hitler. Leading by example really is one of the pillars of basic management, for frick's sake. You build loyalty and trust. Your employees will be more productive and happy in the end. Wait, you have managers who actually do stuff? To the point where you have to work harder to make up for their absence? Man. Yay, that's actually mind-blowing for me too. We think it's in your best interest to not know how much the company pays of your insurance premium. Turned out it was 0%. It's only going to hurt you to learn more about the industry. You've learned enough. My wife is always flabbergasted at the crap my company wastes money on. The lamest was wooden back scratchers with the company logo on them. They handed out to everyone. I'd actually love it if my employer bought me a back scratcher, especially a wooden one, cause I could sharpen the end for extra back scratching goodness. I'll trade you for my USB mug warmer. Used to work at a movie theater as a supervisor and later a projectionist. While we were making the transition to digital projectors, we were informed that we would be keeping one or two of the old film projectors in case one of the movies we were showing wasn't available in a digital format. They told us they were going to keep us on, but give us extra duties to justify the 80% reduction in workload. Seemed fair. Fast forward a few weeks, and we get the heads up that they wanted us to train a couple of managers on how to thread up a film projector and start it. They then had a giant appreciation party for us at a local go-kart track, where at the end told us that the managers were all going to be handing the projection equipment from then on. They then offered us all jobs as part-time regular employees starting at minimum wage, with an adjustment based on other merit raises we'd been given. I would have gone from 40 hours a week at $13 an hour to 25 hours a week at $8.75. On the last go-kart race I ran the general manager into a wall at 30 miles per hour. So that's why they call you Jimmy Three Shoes. You took the third one from your manager's severed leg after he crashed into the wall. Don't FCK with this guy, people. At my firm we used to have this CEO that felt really entitled and he was a huge prick. The company HQ was in a 3-story building with 2 stairways, one on each end of the building. His office was next to the stairway entrance on one end of the building. For some reason, he believed this was an executive staircase and only he was allowed to use it. Whenever he found another employee in it he would yell at them and threaten to write them up. So all employees had to use the other stairway regardless of where their office was in the building. Such a huge inconvenience. Well, we all had the last laugh. He goes on this great vacation to Europe and little did he know that while he was gone the board of directors had fired him. His company vehicle was removed from his property, his access to company networks was revoked, his key cards were deactivated and his office was packed up and placed outside the building the morning he arrived. He was truly blindsided. He came in claiming his car was stolen only to see it parked in the front ready for the next CEO. Karma. At my firm we used to have this CEO that felt really entitled and he was a huge prick. Every story in this thread, comma. I work at a theater and were pushed to sell these membership cards to 2% of our guests. At the end of the year we ended up being one of the few theaters that ended up doing this. So instead of giving everyone bonuses or raises or even a thank you party, the GM got to fly all the way to California and Las Vegas. We also haven't had anyone internally promoted within the last year and a half or so. The last 2 positions that were opened were filled from the outside. Needless to say, everyone's kinda pee. VP at annual employee meeting. They're all about work-life balance but we have to work harder and longer. Mental freaking pygmy. And by we, I mean you. And no, you won't get any extra pay. My workplace has yearly mandatory barbecues. They call them meetings. The meeting lasts for about 20 minutes and the rest is BBQ and pool and stuff. Sounds awesome, but it is mandatory that you show up, and it is mandatory that you bring some food. You will be written up and or fired if you don't show up. So they scheduled this year's BBQ meet in the middle of the day on a day I already never work, because I go to school. I kept telling them I couldn't miss a day. I'm in a really competitive program, 200 people trying to get into an 18-slot program, so I absolutely cannot frick up. And they said if I don't show up, I'll get fired. So I didn't show up. I actually forgot. I was going to just show up late, and no one said anything and no fricks were given. I saw the photos on Facebook and it just seemed really lame. All the stupid cliques were there. Same old bulls. Just outside of work. Not getting paid for it. Just throwing this out there. In many places, mandatory meetings events must be paid. It's either mandatory and paid, or optional and unpaid. When Circuit City was still around, I was a warehouse manager. The company was struggling from spending too much on planograms and such. So what did they do? They spent tens of millions developing a new POS system called Ripos, which we lovingly called our piece of crap. I actually worked in the test store that was the first to get it in the nation. We had the dev team in for months working out kinks we would find and whatnot, and I discovered a pretty major flaw. The system would randomly lose items in inventory, like $4,000 TVS on a daily basis. I told them about this all the time and they said they would reevaluate or something. They didn't believe me and it had to be a human error. So when the next dist truck came in, we took complete inventory before accepting the shipment into Ross, and wouldn't you know it, we were immediately missing $25k in merch. So they never fixed it, pushed it out to stores, and subsequently went bankrupt. LOL. And the old system wasn't even bad. Sure, it was dated, but once you knew the way around, it was gold. Every year my hotel holds a staff holiday party, at which door prizes are given away. Our main competitor had theirs the week before, and staff with friends and spouses at that hotel reported back to us about that party's door prizes: iPhones, iPads, mini fridges filled with beer or groceries. The grand prize a week for 4 at any hotel in their chain, including airfare and meals. Our party came, and my company's crapulence was revealed. All the door prizes were free 3 nights at specific hotels in our chain. No airfare, nothing else. Crappy hotels in non-destination cities and towns. 3 nights free in a hotel you had no desire to see in a city you had zero reason to visit, and the prize winner had to cover their own airfare. Staff morale plunged to an all-time low when 1 month later the managers all had their weekend advance on a 4-day weekend at a nearby 5-star resort. All expenses covered, including golf and sailing. Dear freaking God. Please don't tell me you still work there, or that the hotels are still successful. In fact, please tell me you went to their competitor, because those are some bitchin' prizes. Not even joking. I was deployed in bumfrick Afghanistan in 2002, and an butthole colonel tripped over a rock walking from the command tent to the latrine at night. 30 minutes later, me and the other lowest ranking airmen were outside picking up rocks with flashlights near the perimeter of base in the middle of the dang night. I've never thought I might die for a more stupid reason than I did that night. All raises were cut for the last 3 years and replaced with gifts. Flowers year 1, lunchbox year 2, and an umbrella year 3. All were of cheap quality and clearly designed for women. I'm a male nurse. Yeah, I just left my gifts at work. At my office we hired a mediator to come in and address some of the workplace concerns. Our communication and interaction with one particular employee was lacking. This employee has a competitive nature that borders on overbearing uncomfortable. The mediator broke us all into pairs of 2 and asked us to arm wrestle with each other. The winner of each match would receive a chocolate. Each group was given a bag of chocolates. Well, everyone split up and performed the task. Every group just communicated that neither participant cared about winning and just wanted the chocolate. So everyone just split the bags. Except for the one employee we had issues with. She dominated her opponent and got every last piece of chocolate. The mediator was befuddled, gave a little speech and left. TLDR. Mediator had our office do team building exercises, realized we're beyond her help and left. As someone who has done team building for about 200 different organizations the last 4 years, that person really sucks at their job. Not to benefit, but I was declined becoming a notary, which is $150, because we didn't have the money. As I was doing the bills, the CEO bought a personal plaque for himself with the company money for $149.98. New guy was put in charge, and he decides that we need to have an annual retreat where we go over what we've done the past year, then plan out what we want to accomplish the following year, and then we eat. Well, when we get to the planning session, it's led by the managers. I heard from my co-workers that half of them didn't listen to us or tried to shift our suggestions to what they wanted. We haven't had our annual meeting yet this year. My company wanted to really get the employees involved and excited about the new direction the company was taking in terms of rebranding and new marketing strategies. So they spent a lot of time trying to get people excited by the future and where the company was going. Of course, none of us in my office appreciated it, given that they had announced a week earlier that our office would close and all our work would be moved out of country. Most people here felt like we were constantly being told how great things would be once we were gone. Insult to injury, the aggressive new marketing used the product we developed as the flagship product. My company just went through a multi-million rebranding campaign. Not only does our new logo look pretty much like a boob, our mission and vision statement is basically the same thing for a small local company. What a waste of money. Here's a good one. I haven't worked for Center Partners since 1999, but they used to pull stupid crap like this all the time. When I worked there, the company was still only a few hundred employees and was still privately owned. One day our HR department and the owner send out an email that the entire company is going to receive a profit sharing bonus. At the time we were a technical call center who contracted with HP, supporting some of the first CD burners and also some of their lower end Traven style tape drives. Apparently we had been kicking butt in all of our metrics. Calls answered with minimal hold time, first call resolution, customer satisfaction. Essentially we were making the company a lot of money and doing a great job maintaining our contracted service levels with HP. So a couple of weeks go by and everyone is abuzz about this profit sharing bonus that we're all supposed to get. How much was it going to be? Was this going to become a regular thing? The typical water cooler discussions. Profit sharing day comes. It's a Friday, and it's also payday. Everyone is excited to get their check and see what kind of bonus we ended up with. But when they handed out checks, there was no bonus on them. As soon as payroll is distributed, HR sends an email out telling us our team leads will send us in a few at a time to collect our profit sharing. Yes, they put the words in quotes. What did our profit sharing end up being? Chic filet chicken breasts, seasoned and vacuum packed, one for each member of your family. You see, a few months prior to this, one of our employees had a spouse with some kind of illness. I can't remember now if it was Ms. or something similar. She also happened to be the store manager for a Chic Filet store in the local mall. Chic Filet corporate had promised her that if her store met a certain target they would purchase her a wheelchair accessible van. When it turned out the store wasn't going to make it, our company had purchased enough raw chicken from the store to make up the difference so she could get the van. Yeah, it was cool of them to do, but then to turn around a couple months later and give us the chicken and call it profit sharing was probably among the shittier things a company has ever done. Whoa, not just vacuum packed chicken breasts, but 2-month-old vacuum packed chicken breasts. When I used to actually work for a car dealer, our insurance would require us to have a right to know presentation by a company once a year. They were an independent company that pretty much audited your shop's safety practices, chemicals being used, etc., and let you know the various dangers. We started to refer to them as a right to know what's going to kill you meetings. Anyways, they always had an atrociously long list of safety violations, eroding tools, chemicals not being handled properly, etc. for this one particular shop. The shop's manager was old, the shop was old, the tools were old and safe, etc. So every year this list was made and every year the same thing was on the list. Well, every year they do a demonstration about how gas fuel isn't exactly flammable, it's the fumes, and they do a demonstration where they light fumes on fire on one side and drop a match into diesel on the other, and then extinguish it with a fire extinguisher. One of the things on the list for this year was our fire extinguishers had not been inspected yet. So earlier in the morning, Tech 1 was doing a fuel filter where they were doing this fume demonstration. So half the floor is on fire and the fire extinguishers aren't working. You have the right to know that the right to know meeting may kill you. Fun fact, they never fixed anything at that shop after those meetings. One of the most hilariously unsafe places I've ever worked. My company, manufacturing, has an on-site company picnic every year with big giveaways for all employees. But you have to be physically present to win. So night shift and anybody stuck in the factory working can't win. Just the folks whose job isn't important enough to stop working for 5 hours and play sack races with upper management. Even when I can go, I refuse to. I make sure to wave when I drive by the picnic area when I am driving out to a quick McDonald's lunch. Infuriates me. I hated working night shifts for reasons like this. Oh, there was a great Halloween party today. We all took most of the day off and drank while on the clock. Now can you make up for all the work that wasn't done today? Thanks. Plus people would look at me like I was trespassing if I ever walked in during the day shift. One week the owner cut everyone's wages 15% in order to guarantee the future health of the company. The next week he bought a $4.5 million painting. Thomson Reuters axed our Christmas bonuses so that we could have 4 52-inch TV screens that displayed Sky News, company stock results, company predictions and security systems. They decided to shut down 3 of the 5 elevators and the air conditioning for alternating hours. 1 hour on, 1 hour off, throughout the day as part of a power-saving green initiative. But really they were just saving money on electricity. Wouldn't be bad. Except they started the shutdown just before everyone was arriving for work at 8 AM, leading to widespread tardiness, crammed elevators, and near fist fights. It was one of the hottest days of the summer, and the stairwells are only accessible in emergencies. Doors have alarms. At least they sent out an email telling us about it. It arrived at 4 PM on the day the initiative started. One thing that I think is worth pointing out here. I am amazed that the absence of managers caused more work. My experience in the corporate world is that for the most part when the managers are gone at worst no one notices. But that usually everyone is in a lot better mood and productivity is a lot higher. My story. In my early 20s I worked at a technical support call center. There were 2 separate call centers. One located at corporate headquarters and another satellite office located in a different part of the country. Corporate help desk was consistently bad on customer service and incompetent technically, to the point where callers would ask to be placed back on hold to get us if they got through to corporate. The solution? Everyone has to go to a customer service seminar. Worse yet, the speaker that they got was some sleazy used car salesman. Not only that, but they also restructured the way that the customer satisfaction surveys and the like were done so that it was not tracked by office anymore. Meaning that the crappy techs were bringing the whole company down and there was no real reason to try for excellence anymore. One thing that I think is worth pointing out here. I am amazed that the absence of managers caused more work. My experience in the corporate world is that for the most part when the managers are gone at worst no one notices. But that usually everyone is in a lot better mood and productivity is a lot higher. I'm a manager, and I concur. We were a small company, our boss plus 4 full-time employees. Our mandatory annual meeting one year was held at a lake resort, paid for by the company. The company also offered to pay for wives' significant others to come and hang out at the resort. Get there on Friday, meetings all day Saturday and go home Sunday. Dinner Friday and breakfast Saturday go normally. Meetings are pretty boring during the day but we seem to get some good stuff hammered out for the upcoming year. Dinner on Saturday we sit down and start looking at the menu. Boss announces that everyone will have to pay for their own dinner tonight. We're talking like $15 for a salad, $30 for an entree on this menu. This is pretty surprising to us, since it is the first time we're hearing about needing to spend any money. Remember, some of us have SOS here too, so we're talking $50 to $60 for this dinner. We all felt like the meals were mandatory company team building time, and now we're surprised by having to pay for stuff. It wouldn't have been a big deal if we had known before the dinner. Just freaking go to Panera or something instead of fancy resort restaurant. Then our boss tells us we should totally check out the champagne breakfast brunch on Sunday before we go home. Thanks, but I've spent enough of the money you don't pay me already this weekend. I'm just going to grab a bagel and drive home. I worked there 3 years and we had our mandatory annual meeting only my first year. At my current job, 20-minute lunch breaks are normally given out one at a time, but there have been many times when the supervisors, who make up roughly half the staff, will all go on break together, usually leaving me and one other gal to run register, kitchen, and cutting board. Seems to happen a lot when we become very busy, like a birthday part comes in or worse, the choir group. It's not fun getting yelled at by an obese woman's obese children because their food is taking 10 minutes longer than normal. Back when smartphones weren't super popular, my manager texted me some crap like, "Wow, any large pizza for just $10. Tell your friends to order now. Blah blah blah, corporate monster blah." Then instructed me to pass it on to my contacts. I proceeded to use the good old fill the 10 recipient slots with the same contact and sent it right back to her. I hit resend about 15 times, causing her phone to be unable to do anything but receive my messages one at a time. 150 times. She didn't send me bulls marketing texts to forward after that. Well played, pizza lad. When I was 20, I was the lead supervisor on a program evaluation contract, supervising 45 employees. The project was finished when I was out of the office. I worked 12-8 PM. It finished around 10:30 AM that morning. My boss called and told me it was finished, and everyone was going out to eat to celebrate. So I said, "Oh, I'll come in now." Give me a few minutes and she said great, we need you to come supervise the other team, who wasn't on that project, while we go. So freaking stupid. Everything at that job was stupid, including letting a 20-year-old develop an evaluation for a statewide program on green jobs just out of the blue. I made the whole thing based on a few Wikipedia articles. Frick it. It was really successful and a lot of other states use it now. But I ultimately got fired for wanting to be paid the same amount as the other supervisor whose team didn't do as well as mine. But it was a boys club so I got fired. Buttholes. The cookie incident. I was working as an IT technician for a big corporation. After 9/11 people were stressed out and our manager thinks we need a morale boost. He created some random appreciation tokens, which were nothing but tickets for theater plays that were cancelled a week earlier, discounts for car rentals and hotel stays. Basically just unused corporate coupons that were laying around in his office. I was bitter about not being nominated or any of my team, even if our performance numbers were better than many of the winners. We knew all the winners were brown-nosed morons. But this time universe did justice. 2 days later, a regular user did bake a big batch of cookies and sent to me and my team a massive amount of cookies. When I did thank her and ask her the reason of her kindness, she just said, "This is for all the times you guys had helped me." That was way better than any random coupon. The cookie incident. I was working as an IT technician for a big corporation. I saw this and I thought you were going to talk about internet cookies. Last year our company's CEO came down from Chicago and basically bragged to all us punes about how much profit our company made, over 100 mil. So as a treat to us they gave us a $5 coupon for our in-house caf. I was so insulted. I mean a decent lunch and there usually is around $7. Moral is still in the crapper. I work for a major credit card company. Back in the 80s I was a contractor at a major corporation. One day they brought all the employees across the street for a video hookup with headquarters. They were announcing company-wide layoffs. That video hookup cost $50,000 back then. They could have saved a person's job by doing it another way. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.